The darkness of space stretched endlessly in every direction. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the stars through the viewport. He was 42 years old with gray starting to show in his dark hair. His uniform was clean and pressed, the way Earth Defense Force regulations required. But inside he felt uneasy about this mission. The Valiant was not a large ship. It carried a crew of 150 people. They had been assigned to join a coalition task force in the Void sector. The mission was supposed to be simple. Explore the region. Map the systems. Watch for the Devourers. The Devourers were the reason everyone was nervous. These creatures were not like any other species in the galaxy. They came in massive swarms, consuming everything in their path. Entire worlds had been stripped bare by them. The Coalition said they needed to study the Devourers to understand how to fight them. That was why they sent ships to the Void sector. Dr. Lisa Grant walked onto the bridge. She was the chief science officer, a woman of 35 with sharp eyes and long brown hair tied back in a ponytail. She carried a datapad in her hands. Lisa believed in the Coalition. She thought that different species working together would make the galaxy better. She had faith in what they were doing here. "Captain Morrison, we are approaching the rendezvous point," she said. "The other ships should be there soon." Jake nodded. Commander Alex Turner stood at the tactical station. He was 38, built like a soldier with a scar on his left cheek from an old training accident. Alex did not trust the aliens. He had said so many times. His family had been military for 3 generations. They taught him to rely on humans first. "I do not like this," Alex said quietly. "We are too far from home, too far from help." "We have orders," Jake replied. "We follow them." Lieutenant Kate Sullivan sat at the pilot controls. She was the youngest of the senior officers at 29. Her blonde hair was cut short and she always had a smile ready. Kate believed humanity had a bright future among the stars. She was excited to work with the other species. "Incoming transmission from the Kralith flagship," Kate announced. "Put it through," Jake said. The screen flickered to life. A Kralith commander appeared. The Kralith were a reptilian species, with scales that shimmered in shades of green and gold. Their eyes were cold and calculating. This one wore armor that marked him as high-ranking. "Human vessel Valiant," the Kralith said. "You will take position in the forward screening line. We have detected Devourer activity in Sector 7. All ships are to advance and engage." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Forward screening line. That meant the Valiant would be at the front, the first to face whatever came at them. The larger coalition ships would hang back, providing support from a distance. "Understood," Jake said. "We will move into position." The transmission ended. Alex turned to face Jake. His expression was grim. "They're putting us out front like bait," Alex said. "Maybe they need our sensors," Lisa suggested. "Our equipment might be better suited for detecting the Devourers." Alex shook his head. "Or maybe they just do not want to risk their own ships." Jake did not answer. He gave the order and Kate moved the Valiant forward. 2 other human ships joined them, the Liberty and the Frontier. Together, the 3 vessels moved into the forward position, while the Coalition fleet stayed behind. Hours passed. The crew remained at their stations, tense and ready. Chief Engineer Marcus Webb called from the engine room. Marcus was 45, a practical man who had kept ships running for 20 years. He knew every system on the Valiant inside and out. "Captain, we have some fluctuations in the power grid," Marcus reported. "Nothing serious, but I would prefer not to push the engines too hard if we get into a fight." "Noted," Jake said. "Keep monitoring it." Then the sensors screamed. Kate's hands flew across her controls. "Contact!" she shouted. Multiple contacts. Hundreds of them. The view screen showed what was coming. The Devourers emerged from the darkness like a nightmare made real. They were insectoid creatures, each one the size of a fighter craft, but they moved together, thousands of them forming a living wave of destruction. Their bodies were black and chitinous, with mandibles that could tear through hull plating. "All ships, engage," the Kralith commander ordered over the communication channel. The 3 human ships opened fire. Energy beams lanced out, cutting through the Devourer swarm. Explosions bloomed in the void. But for every creature they killed, 10 more took its place. The swarm kept coming. "Request support," Jake called to the Coalition fleet. "We cannot hold them alone." There was no response. Jake tried again. "This is Captain Morrison. We need immediate support." Still nothing. Alex checked his tactical display. His face went pale. Captain, the coalition ships are moving away. They are leaving the combat zone. Lisa stared at her screen in disbelief. That cannot be right. They would not abandon us, but it was right. The coalition fleet was withdrawing, pulling back and leaving the human ships to face the swarm alone. The Devourers swarmed over the Liberty. The ship's shields failed. Creatures tore into the hull. Jake watched in horror as the Liberty exploded, taking its crew of 160 souls with it. The frontier lasted only minutes longer. It tried to run, but the Devourers were faster. They covered the ship like ants on a carcass, ripping it apart piece by piece. "We have to go," Alex shouted. "Now, Captain." Jake's mind raced. He wanted to fight. He wanted to make the coalition pay for this betrayal. But his duty was to his crew. "Kate, get us out of here. Full power to the engines." Kate's fingers danced across her controls. The Valiant turned sharply, diving away from the swarm. The engines roared to life, pushing the ship to its limits. Devourers pursued them, their screeching filling the communication channels. "Shields at 60%, Alex called out. 50%. They are getting through. There." Lisa pointed at her screen. "A nebula. If we can reach it, we might lose them in the gas clouds." "Do it," Jake ordered. Kate pushed the Valiant harder. The ship shuddered as Devourers clawed at the hull. Warning lights flashed across every console. But they were getting closer to the nebula. Just a little farther. They plunged into the thick gas clouds. Visibility dropped to nothing. The sensors could barely function, but the Devourers fell away, unable to track them through the interference. The Valiant drifted deeper into the nebula, powered down to minimal levels to avoid detection. Silence fell over the bridge. Everyone was breathing hard. Jake looked at his crew. They were alive, but barely. The ship was damaged. They were lost in an uncharted nebula, far from home, with no way to call for help. Alex broke the silence. "They left us to die. The coalition abandoned us on purpose." Lisa shook her head, tears in her eyes. "Why would they do that? We are supposed to be allies." Jake accessed the ship's computer and pulled up the communication logs. He found what he was looking for. A transmission from the Kralith flagship to the other coalition ships. It had been sent just before the attack began. Jake played it for the bridge crew. The Kralith commander's voice was cold and clinical. "Human vessels will engage first. Withdraw to safe distance and observe Devourer attack patterns. Collect combat data. Human losses are acceptable." The recording ended. Kate's hands were shaking. "They used us. We were just test subjects to them." Alex's voice was hard as steel. 310 people died today. Our people. And the coalition watched it happen because they wanted data. Jake felt rage burning in his chest, but he forced it down. He had to think clearly. "What is our status, Marcus?" Marcus's voice came through the intercom. "The faster-than-light drive is damaged. We have hull breaches on 3 decks. Life support is running at 70%. We can survive, but we cannot go anywhere quickly. Repairs will take months, maybe longer." "Can you fix it?" Jake asked. "Eventually," Marcus said. "But we need parts, resources, things we do not have." "Then we find them," Jake said. "We survive. And when we get home, Earth will know the truth about the coalition." Lisa looked at him. "If we get home." "We are alone out here, Captain. No rescue is coming." Jake met her eyes. "I know. That is why we cannot give up. The coalition thinks we are dead. They think they can use humanity and throw us away. We are going to prove them wrong." He stood up and addressed the entire crew over the ship's communication system. "This is Captain Morrison. Today we were betrayed by those we trusted. Our fellow ships and their crews are gone. We are stranded in hostile space with a damaged vessel. The coalition has left us to die." He paused, letting that sink in. "But we are still here. We are still alive, and as long as we draw breath, we will fight to get home. We will survive because that is what humans do. We adapt, we overcome. And when we return to Earth, the galaxy will know that humanity cannot be discarded like garbage." The crew was silent for a moment. Then someone started to clap. Others joined in. The sound spread through the ship. They were scared. They were angry. But they were not broken. Kate looked up at Jake with determination in her eyes. "What are your orders, Captain?" "We find a place to hide and make repairs," Jake said. "We scavenge what we need. We stay alive. And we watch, we learn. Because one day the coalition will answer for what they did here." The Valiant drifted deeper into the nebula, disappearing into the cosmic fog. Behind them, The Coalition fleet gathered their data and prepared to leave. They believed the humans were dead. They had no idea that 6 months had passed since the betrayal. The Valiant hung in the shadow of a massive asteroid deep within the nebula. The crew had hollowed out a section of the rock, creating a hidden base where they could work on repairs without being detected by Devourer patrols. Life aboard the ship had changed. The crew worked in constant shifts, sleeping in short intervals. Food was rationed carefully. Every drop of water was recycled. They salvaged what they could from debris fields left behind by previous battles. Broken ships became their supply depot. Jake Morrison stood in the makeshift workshop they had created in the cargo bay. His uniform was stained with grease and torn in several places. He had not bothered to replace it. There were more important things to worry about than appearances. Marcus Webb was bent over a power coupling, his hands covered in black lubricant. The chief engineer had aged visibly in the past months. His hair was now more gray than brown, and deep lines creased his face. But his eyes remained sharp and focused. "How much longer?" Jake asked. Marcus straightened up and wiped his hands on a rag. "Another month, maybe 2, before the faster-than-light drive is operational, but it will only work for short jumps. We need better parts for a long-range trip home." Jake nodded. "Keep at it. We will find what we need." On the bridge, Alex Turner monitored the sensor displays. He had barely left his post in days. His dedication bordered on obsession, but Jake understood. Alex needed to feel like he was protecting the crew. It was the only way he could cope with what had happened. Kate Sullivan entered the bridge carrying a tray of food rations. She set it down next to Alex. "You need to eat," she said gently. Alex glanced at the tray but did not touch it. "Later. I need to finish this sweep pattern." Kate sighed. "We all need to stay healthy, Alex. You cannot protect us if you collapse from exhaustion." He looked at her then, and some of the hardness left his face. "You are right. Thank you." Dr. Lisa Grant was in the science lab studying data on one of the few working terminals. She had spent countless hours analyzing everything they had collected. Tevari biology, coalition ship designs, the nebula's composition, anything that might help them survive. But today she was looking at something different. A week ago, a salvage team had found a derelict space station at the edge of the nebula. It was ancient, its systems long dead. But Lisa had insisted on exploring it. She believed it might contain useful technology. What she found was beyond anything she had imagined. "Jake, you need to see this," Lisa called over the communication system. "Come to the lab immediately." Jake arrived within minutes. Alex and Kate followed him. Lisa was standing in front of a display screen, her hands trembling slightly with excitement. "I found something in the station's data archives," she said. "Information about a species called the Architects. They existed millions of years ago, long before the Coalition was formed." Jake studied the screen. It showed complex diagrams and text in a language he did not recognize. "What does this have to do with us?" "Everything," Lisa said. The Architects were incredibly advanced. Most of the technology the Coalition uses today is based on their designs. But here is what the Coalition does not want anyone to know. The Architects did not die out naturally. They were destroyed. Destroyed by who? Alex asked. "By the early Coalition species," Lisa said quietly. "The Kralith, the Sindari, the Velorn. They formed an alliance and wiped out the Architects because they feared their power. Then they stole their technology and built an empire on genocide." The bridge fell silent. Kate spoke first. "So the Coalition has always been like this, using others. Destroying threats, yes," Lisa confirmed. "And that is not all. The data includes schematics, weapon designs, defensive systems, things far beyond what the Coalition currently has. The ruling species kept the best technology for themselves and never shared it with newer members." Jake leaned closer to the screen. "Can we use any of this?" Lisa pulled up another set of diagrams. This one. A shield generator powered by exotic matter from subspace. It can create barriers that nothing can penetrate. Not energy weapons, not missiles, nothing. If we could build one, the Valiant would be nearly invincible. Alex crossed his arms. "What do we need to build it?" Lisa called Marcus to the lab. When the engineer arrived, she showed him the specifications. Marcus studied them for a long time, his expression thoughtful. "I can build this," Marcus said finally, "but I need exotic matter. A lot of it And the only source nearby is that Devourer hive ship we have been avoiding. Everyone looked at Jake. The hive ship was massive, containing thousands of Devourers. Going near it would be suicide. But if they could get what they needed, it would change everything. We do it, Jake said. We plan carefully. We move fast, and we get out alive. The next 2 weeks were spent in intense preparation. Alex studied the hive ship's patterns, looking for weaknesses. Kate practiced approach vectors hundreds of times in the simulator. Marcus built specialized containers to store the exotic matter safely. Lisa provided all the information she could about Devourer biology and behavior. The night before the mission, Jake gathered his senior staff in the briefing room. We all know the risks, he said. This could go wrong in 100 different ways. If anyone wants to back out, speak now. No one spoke. Alex met Jake's eyes. We are with you, Captain. All the way. The Valiant left the asteroid base in the early hours, running on minimal power to avoid detection. Kate piloted them through the nebula with steady hands. The hive ship appeared on their sensors like a dark mountain floating in space. It was organic, grown rather than built, with a surface that pulsed like living tissue. There, Lisa said, pointing at her screen. That opening leads to the power core. That is where the exotic matter will be. Alex led the strike team. 20 crew members, all volunteers, armed with whatever weapons they had been able to salvage or build. They wore environment suits and carried cutting tools along with their guns. Kate brought the Valiant alongside the hive ship, matching its slow rotation. A docking tube extended, connecting to the opening. Good luck, she whispered as the team entered the tube. Inside the hive ship, everything was wrong. The corridors were made of hardened resin that seemed to breathe. The air was thick and hot. Strange sounds echoed from deeper within. The strike team moved quickly but carefully, following Lisa's directions. They reached the chamber containing the exotic matter. It glowed with a pale blue light, contained in organic sacs attached to the walls. Marcus went to work immediately, using special tools to extract the material without destabilizing it. That was when the alarms started. The Devourers had detected the intrusion. The sounds of movement filled the corridors. Thousands of creatures all heading toward them. Move faster, Alex ordered. We are about to have company. The first Devourers appeared at the far end of the corridor. They were horrifying up close, all mandibles and claws and hunger. Alex and his team opened fire. Energy bolts tore through the creatures, but more kept coming. Got it, Marcus shouted, sealing the last container. We can go, the team ran. Devourers poured into the corridors behind them, a living tide of death. 3 crew members fell, torn apart before anyone could help them. The survivors kept moving, laying down covering fire as they retreated. They reached the docking tube. Kate saw them coming and was already preparing to disconnect. Get in, she urged over the radio. The team scrambled through. Alex was the last one in. A Devourer grabbed his leg as he crossed the threshold. He kicked it away and fired point blank, blowing the creature back into the hive ship. The docking tube disconnected. Kate punched the engines. The Valiant pulled away from the hive ship. Devourers swarmed out of every opening, pursuing them. Hundreds of creatures filled the space behind them. Evasive maneuvers, Jake commanded. Kate threw the ship into a series of tight turns and rolls. Her training and instinct combined into perfect piloting. The Valiant twisted through space like a dancer, always one step ahead of the pursuing swarm. The hive ship's weapons came online. Massive energy beams stabbed out toward them. One beam grazed their shields, sending the entire ship shuddering. Alarms blared across every console. Kate dove deeper into the nebula. The thick gas cloud scrambled the Devourer's sensors. The pursuit fell away, unable to track them through the interference. The Valiant emerged on the other side, battered but intact. Jake slumped in his chair. Report. We lost 12 people, Alex said quietly. But we got what we came for. The cargo bay held the containers of exotic matter. Marcus looked at them with satisfaction and grief mixed together. This will work, he said. I can build the shield generator. But those 12 people paid with their lives for it. Jake addressed the crew over the ship's communication system. Today we lost friends and colleagues. Their sacrifice was not in vain. We now have the means to defend ourselves, to become strong. Those 12 gave us a future. We will honor them by surviving, by thriving, and by making sure the galaxy never forgets what they did here. Over the following months, Marcus worked day and night to build the shield generator. Lisa decoded more of the architect archives, revealing additional technologies. The crew trained harder, becoming a cohesive unit forged by hardship and shared purpose. When the shield generator was finally installed and tested, it exceeded all expectations. The barriers it created were impenetrable. Energy weapons simply dissipated against them. Physical projectiles bounce. Harmlessly, Jake stood on the bridge. Another year had passed. The Valiant was no longer the damaged ship that had limped into the nebula. It had become something else entirely. The architect technology had transformed it into a vessel that could rival any warship in the Coalition fleet. Marcus Webb stood in the engine room, admiring his work. The faster-than-light drive hummed with power. The shields could withstand attacks that would vaporize normal ships. New weapons based on architect designs had been integrated into every available space. The Valiant was ready for the journey home. Jake Morrison called a meeting in the briefing room. His senior staff gathered around the table. They all looked different now. Harder, more capable. The months of survival had forged them into something the Coalition had never expected. "We are ready to go home," Jake began. "But we need to talk about what happens when we get there." Lisa Grant had been studying intercepted Coalition communications. What she found troubled her deeply. "The Coalition has tightened their grip on Earth," she said. "They used our supposed deaths to convince Earth's government that they need protection. Trade agreements have been signed that favor Coalition species. Military advisors have been placed in key positions. Earth is being systematically weakened." Alex Turner leaned forward. "So they are doing to Earth what they did to the architects, slowly preparing us for destruction." "Not destruction," Lisa corrected. "Subjugation. They want humanity as a permanent underclass, strong enough to be useful, weak enough to never threaten them." Kate Sullivan looked at the data on her screen. "This is worse than we thought. If we just go home and share what we know, the Coalition will suppress it. They will discredit us, maybe even arrest us." Jake nodded slowly. "I have been thinking about this. We cannot just sneak home quietly. We need to return in a way that cannot be ignored. We need to show Earth what we have become, what humanity can become." "What are you proposing?" Alex asked. "We share the architect technology with Earth's government," Jake said. "All of it. We give them the means to build ships like the Valiant, to defend themselves, to stand as equals with any species in the galaxy." Lisa hesitated. "That could start a war. The Coalition will see it as a threat." "The Coalition already sees us as a threat," Jake replied. "They just think we are weak. It is time to prove them wrong. We do not seek war, but we will not be slaves either. Humanity needs to take its place in the galaxy as a free species, not as someone's tool." Marcus spoke up. "I agree with the captain. We have seen what the Coalition is capable of. They left us to die without hesitation. They will do the same to all of Earth if it serves their purposes. We need to be strong enough that they cannot." Kate nodded. "I am in. What is the plan?" Jake pulled up a star chart. "We have a long journey ahead. 8 months at least, maybe more. We need to avoid Coalition patrols and major trade routes. We cannot let them know we are coming until we reach Earth." The Valiant departed from the nebula 3 days later. The crew said goodbye to the asteroid base that had sheltered them. It had been a prison and a home. Now they were leaving it behind, heading toward an uncertain future. The journey through Coalition space was tense. Kate piloted them through uncharted routes using navigation data from the architect archives. They traveled through regions that most species avoided: dead zones between stars, asteroid fields, nebulae thick with radiation. 3 months into the voyage, they encountered their first refugee ship. It was a Talaran merchant vessel, old and battered, running on minimal power. The Talarans were a peaceful species, known for their trading networks across the galaxy. The merchant captain told them a familiar story. His people had taken loans from Coalition banks to expand their business. When they could not repay fast enough, the Coalition seized their assets. Now they were fleeing, trying to find somewhere beyond Coalition reach. Jake listened to the story with a grim expression. "How many others are there like you?" The Talaran captain spread his hands. "Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. The Coalition has a system. They target smaller species, offer them help, then trap them in debt or unfavorable treaties. Those who resist are crushed. Those who comply are slowly drained of resources." Jake made a decision. He shared some of the architect technology with the Talarans. Not everything, but enough to help them defend their ship and improve their engines. He also gave them a way to contact Earth once humanity was ready. "Why are you helping us?" the Talaran captain asked. "Because the Coalition left my people to die," Jake said. "We survived, and now we are going to build something better, an alliance based on mutual respect, not exploitation. When the time comes, we will need friends. I hope you will be among them." The Talaran captain clasped Jake's hand. "You have our loyalty, human. When you call, we will answer." Over the following months, they encountered other refugees, a colony of Vryn engineers whose world had been strip-mined and abandoned, a group of Keldan explorers who had been forced from their territory by Coalition expansion. Each time, Jake offered help and formed tentative alliances. Lisa worried about this approach. "We are spreading architect technology to multiple species," she said. "What if it falls into the wrong hands?" Jake understood her concern. "We only share what they need to defend themselves. Not weapons, not military applications, just enough to survive and stay free." The architects believed in uplifting younger species. "We are honoring their legacy." As they approached the edge of Coalition space, disaster nearly struck. A Kralith patrol fleet detected unusual energy signatures from the Valiant's cloaking system. 6 warships changed course to intercept them. Alex studied the tactical display. "We cannot outrun all of them, and if we use the faster-than-light drive, they will track our jump signature straight to Earth." Jake made a hard choice. "We go through the asteroid field." "Kate, can you do it?" Kate looked at the dense field of spinning rocks on her screen. The gaps between asteroids were barely wider than the Valiant. At the speed they would need to maintain, any mistake would be fatal. She took a deep breath. "I can do it." The Valiant dove into the asteroid field. Kate's hands moved across her controls with practiced precision. The ship twisted and turned, threading through gaps that seemed impossible. Behind them, the Kralith ships followed, their larger size making navigation more difficult. One Kralith destroyer clipped an asteroid and spun out of control. Another tried to force its way through a narrow passage and got wedged between 2 massive rocks. The remaining ships pressed on, determined to catch their prey. The lead Kralith ship got closer. Too close, its weapons charged, preparing to fire. Alex watched his screen with growing alarm. "Captain, we have a problem. That destroyer is going to get a clean shot in 10 seconds. Jake made another difficult decision. "Fire on my mark. Disable only. We do not want to kill them if we can avoid it." The Kralith destroyer fired first. Energy beams lanced toward the Valiant. The architect's shields absorbed the impact without even flickering. The Kralith crew must have stared in disbelief. "Fire," Jake commanded. The Valiant's weapons, based on architect designs, struck the destroyer with surgical precision. The Kralith ship's engines exploded. Its shields collapsed. The vessel went dark, drifting helplessly in space. The other Kralith ships immediately broke off their pursuit. They had seen something that shocked them to their core. A single human ship, supposedly primitive, had just crippled one of their destroyers with a single shot. That should have been impossible. The Valiant emerged from the asteroid field and jumped to faster-than-light speed before the Kralith could reorganize. But the damage was done. The Coalition now knew that humanity had access to advanced technology. "We have to assume they will send a message to their command," Alex said. "Earth will receive a warning before we arrive. Then we move faster," Jake replied. "Kate, push the engines as hard as they will go. We need to reach Earth before the Coalition can prepare a response." The Valiant raced through space, jumping from system to system at maximum speed. The crew worked in shifts, barely sleeping, knowing that every hour mattered. Lisa decoded more architect files, preparing everything they would need to share with Earth. Marcus fine-tuned the engines, coaxing every bit of speed from them. Jake spent long hours staring at the star charts, planning what he would say when they reached home. How do you tell your entire species that they have been betrayed? That the allies they trusted are actually predators waiting to strike? Kate found him on the bridge late one night. "You should rest, Captain. We still have weeks of travel ahead." Jake shook his head. "I keep thinking about everyone we lost. The Liberty, the Frontier, all those people who trusted the Coalition. They died because we were naive." Kate sat down beside him. "They died because the Coalition is corrupt. That is not our fault. But what we do next is our choice. We can honor their memory by making sure it never happens again." "You are right," Jake said quietly. "Thank you." The weeks passed. The Valiant crossed into human space. Earth appeared on their long-range sensors, a blue-green jewel hanging in the darkness. Home. After 2 years of exile, they were finally coming home. But something was wrong. Alex detected it first. Captain, there are coalition warships in Earth orbit. At least 20 of them. And our defense grid is on high alert. Lisa pulled up communication intercepts. The coalition told Earth that we were destroyed. They used our deaths teaching the S. The silence after Jake's transmission lasted exactly 43 seconds. Then chaos erupted across every communication channel. Earth's military command demanded confirmation of their identity. Coalition ships began powering up their weapons. News organizations broadcast the story across the entire solar system. On Earth, President Helen Carter watched the transmission in her office with growing horror. She had believed the coalition's story about the Valiant being destroyed. She had accepted their help, their advisors, their protection. Now she realized it had all been a trap. Admiral Richard Stone, the head of Earth Defense Force, sat across from her. His jaw was clenched tight. "I told you we should not trust them so completely," he said quietly. "We gave them too much access to our systems." Carter shook her head. "We needed allies. We are new to the galaxy. How were we supposed to know?" "Morrison knew," Stone replied. "He tried to warn us. His reports expressed concerns about coalition intentions. We ignored them because we wanted to believe in the dream of a peaceful galaxy." A communication officer burst into the room. "Madam President, the coalition is demanding that Captain Morrison surrender immediately. They are threatening military action if we do not comply." Carter looked at Stone. "What do you recommend?" Stone stood up. "I recommend we tell the coalition to back away from our planet. Morrison is one of ours. If they want him, they will have to go through the entire Earth Defense Force." "But they have 20 warships in orbit," Carter protested. "We cannot fight them." "Maybe we can," Stone said. "Morrison claims he has advanced technology. If he can share that with us quickly enough, we might have a chance." Aboard the Valiant, Jake received a secure transmission from Admiral Stone. "Captain Morrison, this is Stone. I believe you. I need you to get that technology to us immediately. We are running out of time." Jake looked at Lisa. "Can we transmit the Architect archives?" Lisa worked at her console. "The files are enormous. It would take hours to transmit everything. But I can send the most critical data first. Shield generators, weapons, engine upgrades. That should give them something to work with." "Do it," Jake ordered. "Send everything to Admiral Stone's secure channel." The data began transmitting, but the coalition was not going to wait. A Kralith commander appeared on the main view screen. His scales were dark red, marking him as a high-ranking military officer. "Human vessel, you are in violation of coalition law by possessing restricted technology. You will power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Failure to comply will result in your destruction." Jake stood up and faced the screen. "This is Captain Jake Morrison. We are a sovereign Earth vessel in our own star system. You have no authority here. You will withdraw from Earth orbit immediately or face the consequences." The Kralith commander laughed, a harsh sound that grated on the ears. "You are one ship. We are 20. Your defiance is amusing but pointless. You have 1 hour to surrender." The transmission ended. Alex checked his tactical display. "All coalition ships are moving into attack formation." "They are serious about this, Captain." Kate looked worried. "Even with our shields and weapons, 20 against 1 is bad odds." Marcus called from engineering. "Captain, I have been working on something. A modification to the shield generators. If I route all available power through them, I can create a field large enough to protect not just us, but several ships. Maybe even a small space station." Jake's mind raced. "How long can you maintain it?" "Maybe an hour," Marcus replied. "But we will be vulnerable when it drops, and we cannot fire weapons while the extended shield is active." "It will have to be enough," Jake said. "Prepare the modification. Kate, move us between Earth and the Coalition fleet. We are going to buy our people time." The Valiant moved into position. On Earth, Admiral Stone received the first batch of Architect data. His engineers stared at the schematics in amazement. This technology was decades, maybe centuries beyond anything they had. "How long to implement any of this?" Stone demanded. The chief engineer shook her head. "Days at minimum. Weeks for anything substantial. We need time to study it, to understand how it works." "We do not have days," Stone said. "Morrison is putting himself between us and the Coalition fleet. He is buying us time with his life. We need to give him support." Stone ordered every available Earth Defense Force ship into space. It was not much. A dozen frigates, a few destroyers, some patrol craft. Against the Coalition's 20 warships, they would be swept aside like toys. But they were all humanity had. The hour expired. The Kralith commander appeared on every screen. Humans, you have made your choice. You will be destroyed as an example to others who might defy the Coalition. All ships opened fire. 20 Coalition warships unleashed their weapons at once. Energy beams and missiles converged on the Valiant from every direction. The amount of firepower was staggering, enough to vaporize a small moon. The Architect shields flared to life. The extended field that Marcus had created spread out like an enormous bubble, covering not just the Valiant but the approaching Earth ships as well. The Coalition's attack struck the shield and simply stopped. Energy dissipated harmlessly. Missiles detonated without effect. Inside the Valiant, alarms screamed as power levels dropped. Marcus fought to keep the shield stable. "We can hold this for maybe 40 minutes, he shouted. "But if they keep firing at this intensity, maybe less." The Coalition fleet paused, confused by the shield's effectiveness. The Kralith commander stared at his tactical display in disbelief. What kind of technology is this? Increase power. Focus all fire on a single point. The Coalition ships concentrated their fire, trying to overwhelm the shield through sheer force. The Valiant shuddered under the assault. Lights flickered across the bridge. Systems began failing as Marcus diverted everything to maintaining the shield. On Earth, engineers worked frantically. One young technician had an idea. "We cannot build new ships in time," she said, "but we could upgrade our existing weapons. Look at this section of the Architect data. It shows how to modify energy weapons to penetrate conventional shields." Admiral Stone looked at the specifications. "How long?" 30 minutes per ship, the technician said. "Maybe less if we work fast." "Do it," Stone ordered. "Start with the destroyers. Get them upgraded and back into space." Aboard the Valiant, Marcus's voice was strained. Shield integrity at 60%. 50%. "Captain, we cannot hold much longer." Jake opened a channel to Admiral Stone. "How much more time do you need?" 20 minutes, Stone replied. "Can you give us that?" Jake looked at his crew. They were exhausted but determined. "We will give you 30, he promised. Valiant out." The Coalition commander was growing frustrated. "This is impossible. No shield should be this strong. All ships prepare torpedo barrage. We will crack this barrier." Hundreds of torpedoes launched from the Coalition fleet. They converged on the shield like a swarm of deadly insects. The impact was tremendous. The Valiant's entire structure groaned under the strain. "Shield at 30%, Marcus called out. 20%. "Captain, this is it. We are about to fail." Then new contacts appeared on the sensors. Earth destroyers, upgraded with Architect weapons, were returning to the battle. They were only 4 ships, but they were enough to change the situation. Admiral Stone's voice came over the communication channel. "All Earth ships engage the Coalition fleet. Target their engines and weapons. Disable, do not destroy. We are not murderers like they are." The Earth destroyers opened fire. Their upgraded weapons, based on Architect designs, cut through Coalition shields as if they were paper. One Kralith cruiser lost power and went dark. Another had its weapon systems blown off. A cindery battleship took a hit to its engines and began drifting. The Coalition fleet immediately turned to face this new threat. That gave Marcus the break he needed. "Shield is stabilizing," he reported. "We have maybe 10 more minutes." More Earth ships joined the battle as their weapons were upgraded. The odds were starting to even out. But the Coalition still had superior numbers and experience. The Kralith commander made a desperate decision. "If we cannot defeat them in battle, we will strike at their homeworld. All ships target Earth's surface. Launch everything we have." Alex saw the targeting solutions appear on his screen. "Captain, they are going to bombard Earth. We have to stop them." Jake's hands clenched into fists. "Marcus, drop the extended shield. Route all power to weapons and engines. Kate, get us between those ships and Earth now." The shield collapsed. The Valiant surged forward, its engines screaming. Kate pushed the ship to its absolute limits, racing to intercept the Coalition's attack. Behind them, the Earth ships did the same. The Coalition fleet launched their bombardment. Missiles and energy beams streaked toward Earth, but the Valiant reached their position first. The Architect's shields reformed around the ship, smaller but more focused. Some of the incoming fire struck the shields and was stopped. Other weapons were intercepted by point defense systems, but there were too many. Some missiles got through. They entered Earth's atmosphere, targeting major cities. Millions of lives hung in the balance. Then the Earth Defense Force frigates moved into position. They had been equipped with a different architect technology. Point defense grids far more advanced than anything previously available. These systems tracked and destroyed every missile before they could reach their targets. Earth was saved. The Coalition's attack had failed completely, and now the human ships pressed their advantage. 5 years had passed since the battle over Earth. The solar system looked completely different now. Massive shipyards orbited the Moon and Mars, churning out vessels based on architect designs. Space stations dotted the system, serving as training centers and defensive platforms. Humanity had transformed itself into a military power that could challenge any species in the galaxy. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the new flagship Defiance. It was 3 times the size of the Valiant, equipped with the latest architect technology and crewed by the best people humanity had to offer. Commander Alex Turner captained this magnificent ship. He had trained hundreds of officers in the past 5 years, teaching them the hard lessons learned in the Void sector. Dr. Lisa Grant led a research division that employed thousands of scientists. They had unlocked more secrets from the architect archives, developing new medicines, faster engines, and better communication systems. Lisa had never imagined that her belief in cooperation would take this form, but she embraced it. True cooperation required equality, not submission. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan, now a captain herself, commanded the elite pilot training program. Young men and women from Earth and its colonies learned to fly with a skill that matched or exceeded any species. Kate's techniques, developed during desperate battles in the nebula, became standard doctrine. Chief Engineer Marcus Webb had retired from active service but consulted on every new ship design. His expertise ensured that human vessels were reliable and efficient. At 50 years old, he deserved rest, but he refused to stop working. Too many lives depended on the quality of their technology. The Coalition had not been idle during these 5 years. News of their defeat at Earth spread quickly through the galaxy. Some species celebrated, seeing hope for their own freedom. Others worried about the balance of power shifting. The ruling Coalition species, particularly the Kralith, the Sindari, and the Velorn, began assembling the largest military force in galactic history. They could not allow humanity's rebellion to succeed. If humans could defy them and survive, other species would follow. The Coalition's entire system of control depended on maintaining the appearance of invincibility. Earth had shattered that appearance. Now the Coalition needed to destroy Earth completely to restore fear and order. But humanity was not alone. The refugee species Jake had contacted during the voyage home had kept their promises. The Talorans provided intelligence about Coalition movements and supply lines. The Vryn contributed their engineering knowledge. The Keldons shared their understanding of subspace navigation. Dozens of minor species tired of exploitation pledged support. Together, they formed the Free Systems Alliance. It was not an empire. Every species had equal voice in decisions. Resources were shared fairly. Military cooperation was voluntary. It was everything the Coalition claimed to be but never was. Lisa made another breakthrough during this time. She had been studying the Devourers, trying to understand them better. What she discovered changed everything. The Devourers were not mindless monsters. They were a desperate species fleeing the destruction of their home galaxy. They consumed worlds because they had no other choice. Their biology required specific resources that were becoming scarce. Lisa proposed something radical. Contact the Devourers. Negotiate with them. The idea horrified many people. The Devourers had killed thousands of humans and destroyed countless worlds. But Lisa argued that the Coalition had deliberately used the Devourers as a threat, never attempting diplomacy because a common enemy kept member species dependent on Coalition protection. Jake approved the mission, despite the risks. Lisa led a small team to the edge of Devourer space. They sent carefully crafted messages in mathematical language, the universal form of communication. For weeks, there was no response. Then a Devourer hive ship approached. The meeting was tense. The Devourers communicated through complex chemical signals that had to be translated by computers. But communication was possible. The Devourer Queen, if that was the right term, explained their situation. Their home galaxy was dying, consumed by an expanding void. They had traveled for generations searching for a new home. Lisa offered an alternative to endless war. The Free Systems Alliance would help the Devourers find uninhabited systems where they could settle, worlds with the resources they needed but no sentient inhabitants. In exchange, the Devourers would cease their attacks on populated worlds and remain neutral in the coming conflict with the Coalition. The Devourer Queen considered this for 3 days. Then she agreed. It was a fragile peace, built on mutual need rather than trust. But it removed one major threat and proved that even the most alien species could be reasoned with if someone tried. The Coalition was furious when they learned about this agreement. The Devourers had been their convenient excuse for maintaining military forces and extracting resources from member species. Now that excuse was gone. They accelerated their war preparations. The Coalition fleet that eventually arrived at Earth was staggering in size. 500 warships, including the super dreadnoughts of the Kralith Emperor himself. They expected to overwhelm Earth through sheer numbers and terrify any other species considering rebellion. But when they emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, they found the Free Systems Alliance waiting. 150 human ships, the pride of Earth's new fleet. And behind them, vessels from 24 other species. The Tallarans brought their agile cruisers. The Vryn contributed their heavy carriers. The Keldans fielded their advanced destroyers. It was still not enough to match Coalition numbers. But the Alliance had something the Coalition lacked. Unity born from shared suffering. Technology that gave them an edge. And the absolute certainty that they were fighting for their freedom, not for conquest. The Coalition commander was a Kralith High Lord named Vexar. He was the brother of the commander Jake had humiliated 5 years ago. Vexar broadcast to all ships, his voice dripping with contempt. Humans and lesser species, you have defied the natural order of the galaxy. The Coalition has ruled for 10,000 years. We will rule for 10,000 more. Your rebellion ends today. Surrender and accept servitude, or we will burn your worlds to ash and enslave any survivors. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance and composed his response carefully. High Lord Vexar, you made a mistake 5 years ago when you left humanity to die in the Void Sector. You thought we were weak, disposable. You were wrong then. You are wrong now. The age of the Coalition is over. The age of freedom has begun. Vexar laughed. One battle does not make you our equals. You will learn the price of defiance. All ships advance and destroy them. The Coalition fleet surged forward in traditional formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers. The Free Systems Alliance met them head-on. The space between Earth and the approaching armada erupted in light and fire as both sides opened fire. The first exchange shocked the Coalition. Their energy weapons, designed to penetrate conventional shields, barely scratched the architect barriers protecting Alliance ships. Meanwhile, Alliance weapons tore through Coalition defenses with devastating efficiency. Ships that had dominated the galaxy for centuries were suddenly vulnerable. Alex Turner commanded the Defiance with cold precision. He had learned from the best. His ship led a spearhead formation that punched through Coalition lines targeting command vessels. Behind him, human captains executed maneuvers that confused and disrupted enemy formations. Kate Sullivan led a squadron of fast attack vessels in hit-and-run strikes. They appeared from unexpected angles, destroyed targets, and vanished before the Coalition could coordinate a response. Her tactics were unpredictable, creative, born from years of fighting with limited resources. The allied species fought with a ferocity that surprised everyone. The Tallarans, who had been peaceful merchants, became fierce warriors when defending their freedom. The Vryn, who had lost their homeworld, channeled their grief into determination. The Keldans proved that even small ships could make a difference with the right technology. The battle raged for 3 days. Both sides suffered terrible losses. Space was filled with debris and wreckage, but slowly, inevitably, the Coalition's numerical advantage began to tell. The Alliance ships were superior individually, but there were simply too many enemy vessels. On the 3rd day, High Lord Vexar made his move. He had been holding back his personal super dreadnought, waiting for the right moment. Now he ordered it forward, intending to bypass the battle and attack Earth directly. If he could threaten the planet itself, the humans would have to surrender. Jake saw the danger immediately. The super dreadnought was massive, 10 times the size of any other ship in the battle. Its weapons could devastate Earth's surface from orbit. The only vessel fast enough to intercept was the original Valiant, which had been held in reserve as a last resort. Jake transferred his command to Alex and took personal control of the Valiant. Lisa, Kate, and Marcus volunteered to join him. The core crew together again, preparing for one final mission. Marcus had one last surprise. He had been working on a weapon based on the deepest secrets of the Architect archives, a device that could tear through any defense by phasing briefly into subspace. It was experimental. Air outnumbered, B,